Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast with me doing the intro this time, Mike. Hi, how's it going, everyone? As you can tell, Drew is not here, but we do have Randy. Randy, how are you?
Hello. I have arisen. If you're listening on podcast and they couldn't tell, but we are here and we are live and we are EV owners. I don't know.
I feel like people who have been listening or watching us know that already. But those that are new who didn't know, yes, we do have Teslas. I forget. Yeah, you've got the performance and the long range Model Y, Model 3. And then
Performance Y, long range 3.
Yeah.
That's what
and
I
then I guess how are those treating you right now, Randy? It's been a while since I've asked you about your cars.
Well, we just got some news as of recording today that there's a now cheaper, better long-range Model 3, and it makes me feel less sad. Boom, there it is on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching, take a look. There it is. I
was asking about your cars, but that's okay.
I paid, what'd I pay, Mike? 41, 45. I don't remember what I paid. I'm straight up. I don't remember.
A large amount.
I did pay a large amount. I paid less than that. I paid. Hey, question. This right here. This pricing, is this the fake price? Show me the real price. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah. The real pricing. So for those that don't know, Tesla brought back the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 after, I think, what seems like 3 or 4 years. It's now got a range EPA estimated of 363 miles, goes a top speed of 125 miles per hour, and a 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds, which 5 seconds, not bad. I had that in my Y, and it was good enough, but I got the acceleration package, so mine is actually quicker than this.
Boom!
But I believe it has the Panasonic battery in it, so it actually does have decent charging speeds as well. So this might just be the fastest and longest range Tesla out there at a sub $45,000 to $50,000 price tag.
This should sell like hotcakes, if I'm being honest, because now it qualifies for the tax rebate, and it's now makes it cheaper with the federal tax credit. It makes it cheaper than the rear wheel one, which is the standard range, which is tee-hee of me to think about. The long range, if you buy in the United States, rear wheel will turn out to be cheaper than. Look at that! Wait! Oh, estimated. Okay, like that's
so this includes. So there's a nice little toggle that shows what your $7,500 federal tax credit plus an estimated 5 years of gas savings, which is a silly BS metric that
it is
Tesla includes because that's maybe or maybe not realistic to your area. And along with that, that's not the price of the car when you flip that switch to $30,000 or $29,990. That's great. It's cool to see that number on their website, but it's not a realistic number in my opinion.
I concur to a certain degree. They shouldn't put what an estimated anything. Just include what the actual tax credit would look like.
Right.
Even then, the tax credit is misleading because it's when you file for your taxes and you're going to get a $20,000 or $7,500 offset, and you're still going to pay the $42,000. But still, that being said, it is still, I think, the best bang for your buck over the LFP one, over the performance. I mean, yeah,
the all-wheel drive.
Yeah, I tell you that the rear wheel long range Model 3 was my first go-to, my definitive Model 3 that I wanted to buy back in 2018. And then when 2019 rolled around and then they discontinued it, by the time June hit and I was ready to buy it, it was gone. I was like, well, shoot. So this I'm happy it's back. I'm happy it's here, and that's the car I would have bought if I was doing this again, or if this was all redone for me and I didn't have a Tesla. But for that, to go back to your initial question, yeah, my car's doing just great. Both of them. I like both my cars, and that's great. So
Yeah, there's no big issues going on with it mechanically. I know Drew. We were supposed to get some synopsis from Drew today, but he had some other stuff going on, so he's taking the week off, which I think is well deserved after the crazy stuff that's gone on social media wise, but then also in his own life, having to juggle everything between family and car and all that. So at least with him, it's been a little chaotic. With me, I got my first was it mobile service appointment done, which was really interesting. In which I guess I'll let you think about your cars, Randy. But here's how this mobile service went for me. It went well, but Tesla really needs to work on their communication, and specifically around just telling the customer what they're doing. Because I was under the impression when they replaced my indoor panels that I got replaced because my dogs kind of wrecked them. I got them replaced at the service center. And then they said, well, there's actually something that our mobile service is going to do later because we don't have the part on us right now. But we'll do it later. They just need to do some adjusting on the interior trim. I said, okay, that's fine. Fast forward to, I guess, last week. They finally got the mobile service out. The guy asked me when he came, so what's your impression on what I'm supposed to be doing today? I thought that's kind of a weird question to ask the person that you're going to be servicing their car of, but okay, I guess this is a quiz. He was a nice guy, but I said, well, here's my understanding. I think there's supposed to be some tweaking or some scuffs that you're supposed to be addressing on the new interior trim that you installed about a month ago. And he looked in his app on his end or his iPad or something like that. He didn't see any of that. He said, I don't see any of that, but I do have another door trim installment on here for you. And I was a little bit confused by that. And I thought, well, I already got the two door trims replaced. He said, no, this one's for your front passenger side door. And I said, that one isn't damaged, but did I somehow pay for 4 interior door trim panels? Or what's going on? He said, well, I got it right here in the back of the car, and it took me a while to get to you because of traffic and all that. So if you want it, you can, but if you don't, I don't have the driver's side interior panel. So he only had one. So I figured, okay, I guess I already paid for it. And it'd be nice to have one that maybe isn't so scratched up. But, I mean, I guess maybe not even scratched up. The front passenger side door panel was fine compared to the back ones. The back ones were a little bit chewed up. So I thought, okay, whatever. He got done with it very quickly. But now I've got 3 new door panels and 1 original interior door panel. And the funny thing is the only delineating factor between them is the door opening button. So instead of having the line like the original Model 3s and Model Ys had, it now has the little icon showing what that button does, which is opening a door. And it shows you what door in the vehicle it's opening, I guess, even though you're the one opening that specific door. Anyways, what I was getting at with this is that, along with the glossy, this is probably in your car as well, Randy, pretty much where the cup holder is in the door pocket, or like that little door pocket where you can put some stuff in underneath all of the controls for the windows and the door opening button. There's a glossy, or maybe not glossy, but a smooth black panel right there. And in the new doors, it's actually a rough texture instead of smooth. But those are the only 2 things that are different with this door. Otherwise, the door panel looks exactly the same as its matching pair side that is from a different year. So now I've got the 3, I guess, 2023 or 2024 doors and 1 2020 door on my car.
Cool.
I don't know how I feel about it at this point. And also, not even the Tesla service guy had any clue what he was doing besides installing one interior door panel, which was a little off-putting to me.
Very well. So your experience with Tesla is not improving, is my takeaway from this.
It was great when I actually took the car into the service center in town about a month and a half ago, I think, at this point. They were great. The communication was great when I was setting up the service, but they didn't tell me much after the service. And then the mobile service was lackluster. So yeah, it's declining, which is a little bit of a bummer. I'm hoping that you don't fall into the same trap that me and Drew have fallen into, which is car troubles, specifically the physical parts of it.
I have issues. I've had issues. I can't do FSD because my cabin camera won't work at all. So I haven't ran FSD, but evidently, according to Drew, I guess that's a good thing.
Right.
The Model Y says that there's a safety compromise with the passenger seatbelt. So that's something. So it's all that to say that I think services need to be scheduled for it.
Okay. Otherwise, they've been decent so far.
The cars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a car.
You're still a somewhat happy customer of two Teslas?
I got nothing wrong to say about the vehicles for when I bought them. I got something wrong to say about the company now, but that, I mean, I'm not. We've talked about that so much. I'm not interested in talking about Tesla anymore. I have said everything I've needed to say. I don't care what the stock price says. I don't care what my stance is in regards to, and as an investor, I've said everything I needed to say. The product is fine. I never had an issue with the product. I like the product.
Okay.
That's where it begins. That's where it ends.
Have you seen the new leak, or not even leak? I guess someone spotted this out and about, probably here in California, the refreshed Model Y.
I assume it's going to look like the Model 3, the refreshed Model 3. All right. Do you think that's a fair, accurate depiction?
Yes, I agree. In which all we can see in this image that I've got on the video portion of this podcast is this leaked image from what looks to be some Californian road, most likely in the Bay Area or LA. And the whole front of the Model Y is covered. And the hood actually looks a little bit embossed a bit more than it typically does, and a little bit more square than it usually does. But of course, this is just some covered panels that we can't really see underneath. And then there's a little bit of a turning signal exposed, in which looks like it could match up with what the Model 3's turning signal location is. So yeah, I'd agree. This is probably just, we're seeing what happened with the Model 3 now at the Model Y, and it looks like this will likely come about maybe later this year or next year, depending on how fast they can ramp this refreshed Model Y in the States, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, refreshes are whatever. I don't care. I don't care about the refreshes. Refreshes are expected. Slight design changes are expected. It's just like, you can't really tell the difference between a 2020 or 2019 and a 2018 Honda Accord, but you could probably tell the difference between a 2018 Honda Accord and a 2024 Honda Accord. At some point, there's going to be some touch-ups and stuff like that. It's expected. Designs are expected to adjust and make it feel new, give you something that shows that's a newer vehicle. But, I mean, okay.
Sure. I'm expecting it to look like something what Inside EV has right here.
There you go.
Pretty much just copy and paste Model 3 design onto it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we get some new rims with this new Model Y, because even though the Geminis have gotten the nice new upgrade of being darkened, and it bodes well with a lot of the trim that's there, but I feel like we can do something new and different with the Y in terms of trim, or I guess not even trim, but the rims and a bunch of other stuff, because it'd be nice to delineate the products just a little bit more, rather than just have, this is just the puffed up Model 3 that's always been. Or maybe add some, like, I don't know, some very specific attributes to it besides having a hatch that makes it a little bit more unique compared to the Model 3, but still offering it at a competitive price.
If anything, whatever, to throw everything at this new update and whatever, make the outgoing design more valuable, then more cost efficient. If any of you guys are interested in trying to get a Model Y, get the outgoing model when the new one drops, so that way it's going to be cheaper. Look right at used inventory. Look at, I mean, no one's going to be all that fully interested in save yourself, some money in the process. Yeah. Anyway.
Agreed. So I guess I was going to try to smooth this into it, but with the idea that there is new refreshes coming, something that came upon my radar was the Pstar concept BST that got unveiled recently. That looks a lot like what we've seen before in the O2 concept of the Pstar 6, I think is what the O2 is supposed to be. But Pstar unveiled some new images and I guess ideas for what this track-based or hypercar-based track car version of what the Pstar 6 is going to be might look like, which I think looks pretty striking.
It looks like it belongs in an F1 race.
Yeah, it kind of does.
That's everything about it makes it look like it's a race car.
Spoiler's pretty cool on it.
It's not even a sports car; it's a race car.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what this is meant to be. Is this meant to be a race car? I don't think this is meant to be something that you get your groceries with, or excuse me, or go around the canyon with. But, this is meant for something like Le Mans or or Spa and all that.
Yeah,
I'm digging the design. I really want to see more of these sports / hypercar EVs coming over to the States, and hopefully Pstar brings this one as well, because they're getting some interesting ones over in Europe. Some either compact or sportier looking things. It would be nice to get some neat things over here in the States like this.
Yeah. But that's a concept, right? That's not a full-fledged thing, right? We're just looking at concept renders.
Right. But I believe this is probably a step in the right direction because it's building off of what the O2 concept was. And then they branched off that O2 concept into what the Pstar 6 is. And then this is stepping back to the O2 concept, but then bringing it into a more track-based product rather than something that is, I guess, more like a roadster.
Yeah. 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 I assume it's going to have roadster pricing all over this thing. 300,000. I say 300,000.
Possibly so. With the Pstar 6, I believe it's 0 to 60 is around, or they're thinking it's supposed to be around 3.2 seconds, which seemed a little bit slow to me and Drew when we were looking at the Pstar sale, or I guess showroom. So thinking about how they can improve the Pstar 6 might just be this track-based version of it, but pretty much reimagined, or I guess stripped down a lot more to attain faster 0 to 60. Something around the 2-second mark is probably something that I'm expecting from this product.
All right, cool. I got nothing to add to it. Neat. Next.
Okay. Next.
If Riley is doing timestamp still, he's gonna have a lot to do.
I don't think he is. But talking about fast cars, I wanted to highlight the Lucid Air was recalled.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Our favorite startup company was recalled, or has recalled their
Speak
Lucid
for
Airs
yourself, sir.
over a
favorite
sudden
company.
loss over a sudden loss of drive and coolant failure.
Well, is this a software over the air recall? Or is this a recall?
I believe. Well, coolant failure sounds like a recall where these things
I
have to
agree.
be taken in and handled.
Yep.
So,
well,
for those that own a Lucid Air, beware. You most likely have something that needs to be replaced.
I I don't think the people who own a Lucid Air care. I think if they're going to drop that type of money on this and be this early to the game, I mean, this is what we're all signing up for, ladies and gentlemen. We are all beta testers, effectively, to early adoption of EVs, and I think it's more gross that the hardware is going to be failing than software. So that's unfortunate. For that type of money, it should be perfect. It should be. But I saw a video of some guy talking about the Lucid Air, and he's like, "Oh yeah, everyone's always crapping on Tesla for quality control, but then he's like, and Lucid's supposed to be the premium." And he starts to just jiggle, like, I think the rear view mirror or maybe a center panel or something in the car, and you just hear, it's just doing its thing. So, anything above 50,000, I say no. You know what? I'll wind it. 60 to 70,000. Anything above that, if you're buying a car for that amount, retail, you better expect perfection. You better hold it to the standards that you would hold a fossil fuel vehicle. Because if you bought an Audi and it performed like that, you would have something to say about that. You would have some attitude about your Audi or your Mercedes or your Benz. Your BMW, your whatever the case may be, you would have a strong opinion about the quality of your vehicle. And I'm just talking about, like, more or less cosmetic stuff. When we're talking about, like, coolant, and you're paying what, 90? Dude,
90
no.
minimum, I think. Yeah,
minimum. I'm trying to go as cheap as possible. 90 for an Air. And
sorry,
dog.
$69,900 for the Lucid Air Pure.
Boom. That's right in my scope of what I just said. Expect perfection, as you would if you were buying a Mercedes, BMW, Audi, whatever, Lexus.
Do you think that's fair? I was thinking about that as well, and I agree with your point, but I also think about the inflation, I guess, for us as Americans with the US dollar, where prices of things have inflated so much. I mean, heck, my wife just came back with groceries today. She spent $320 on groceries. She only had 4 bags of stuff, and it wasn't even expensive stuff. Was
it an expensive store?
It was a Safeway. So granted, it is a little bit more expensive. It is the safer way, though. So we do have to take that into consideration. But even still, 4 bags of groceries for $320. And to carry that over to cars, I get it. Like gas versus EV, of course, you could get more in a gas car in terms of luxury, because that's what a lot of these companies are more pandering to. But EVs, it seems like luxury is kind of the focus for a lot of these things, but it's not the tier of luxury that we're expecting. It's a couple steps down when we consider, or at least have in our minds, what luxury is in a vehicle and what it is in reality for a lot of these EVs.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think my assessment is still fair, because that's money you're not making in a month for most people. Like, you're dropping tens of thousands of dollars. You need to hold a certain standard to what you're expecting when you are buying a new car. A new car shouldn't have a recall like that. If it's a harness, here's a interesting display bug for your entertainment, interior cabin lighting, and something like that. I'm like, all right, go get that fixed. It is what it is. But you tell me, like, the timing belt's wrong, or for an EV, you're telling me, like, I mean, the coolant, dude, that's a big deal. So, like, No, they don't get a pass for that. But I mean, it happens too. Like, not to play devil's advocate, because long-term listeners of the show know how I feel about Lucid. But to be fair, I mean, that stuff happens. It does happen. As long as it gets addressed quickly and fixes it, and you get those fixes out quickly. A Lucid customer is few and far in between. It's a smaller community, so hopefully that is quicker resolved than like you need to recall every Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla from 2023. Well, no, that's a problem. Lucid, not so much. You're not going to have that many Lucids out there the same way. So stuff like this happens. Let it get resolved. Let it get fixed. And I hope these people who paid, a lot of money, paid their hard-earned dollar towards this, get the product that they wanted.
Sure. And in the article, Lucid, or at least the reporter being Suvrat K, explains that Lucid pretty much determined that around 5,251 of these models may have this loss of drive issue. And then in that, maybe paired with that or separately, 74 Lucid Air sedans, I guess just Lucid Airs because they're all sedans, failed to defrost their windshield, which is slightly concerning when driving. I've had a couple issues in my time when driving with like my Honda Civic, in which it just was not wanting to defrost the windshield. I had to get out physically with like my sweatshirt, jacket, clean off the outside and the inside of the windshield just to get all the frost off, or not even the frost, but yeah, I guess it is frost. Any occlusions pretty much. And even so that wasn't a coolant issue, where this is mainly because it seems to be the high voltage coolant heater is having some issue in this thing, in which 74 isn't too many Lucid Airs when considering the grand scheme of cars on the road.
Right.
But that's 74 reported ones, or at least that they've identified, and who knows who else is affected. And along with that, if this is something that, what am I trying to get with this? Pretty much, is this something that is to be concerned about wholeheartedly, or is this just a small tripping, I guess, misstep occurrence in the company's lineage? I don't think this is a major problem. I mean, it is a major problem having something that doesn't defrost, but it's not like the car is going to spontaneously combust on the road.
I hope it's the latter. I hope that's not that big of a deal, and I hope that this is not a continuing issue. But time will tell. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
With that, something else that came upon my radar when I was looking around, another company has joined the Iona network. And I wanted to have you guess what company it is.
Give me a hint. I don't know.
It is a Japanese company that has invested in the Iona group.
Is it Toyota? No, it can't be, because they agreed to do hybrids now, not EVs. It's not.
Your first guess would have been correct.
Man, I thought they were stepping away from this. I thought hybrids was the way. Oh, maybe I'm thinking maybe they're going to do plug-in hybrids then. But my first thought would have been Toyota.
Yeah, so Toyota decided to invest in the Iona charging network, which is great for those that have well, I guess it's going to be great regardless, but at least for the group, the Iona group, it means more funds coming to them to enable a lot more charging stations, and hopefully a lot more than they're planning to be dispersed and be prevalent in the public space, in which you don't have to worry about a place to go to the bathroom, a place to get food, anything like that, a place to feel safe, because Iona is focusing on some of those creature comforts with their stations. And Toyota investing in it is, in my opinion, very strange, but also heartwarming, because it's very unexpected. I had the same reaction as you. I had to do a double take whether I was reading that right or not. And apparently so.
I am still confused.
Right.
Because I'm so certain like they're not interested in the space. They're like, okay, this isn't working out. I mean, but maybe I'm not crediting enough about their plugin hybrids, or maybe they just want to be an investor and not a user of the thing, but just be an investor in it. That can make sense, right? That makes sense to me.
Possibly so. What this news article, it's not even a news article, it's straight from, I believe, Hyundai, or no, it's from Ionic or Iona.com. They state that Toyota and Lexus customers will have access to the network, in which they're hoping to get around 30,000 charge ports available in the United States by 2030. Or I guess North America, so it's not even the United States. That's expanding into Canada and Mexico.
2030 is a long time away still.
It's 6 years from now, which they've got some time, but that is a lot of charge ports to install.
6 years is a long time. I haven't owned my car for 6 years, and I've had that car for a long time.
It's been 5 years, right?
Yeah.
For the Model 3.
Yeah. COVID was 4 years ago, and that feels like a long time ago. 6 years is a long time, man. It's a long way to go.
Right. So hopefully a lot of this funding that Toyota has put in to invest in the Iona charging network actually goes in the right direction. It's not necessarily for a lot of delays and missteps and design changes that get wrapped up in a cyclical situation that doesn't get them anywhere. Hopefully this actually pushes the ball forward and moving forward a lot quicker than they were expecting. So that way, instead of starting off maybe this year with, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 locations, they get to like 15 or 20 and maybe even 30 if possible. But gets a lot more engineers, a lot more installers, a lot more service members, jobs, and stations to upkeep, which is great news for those that want to invest in an EV in the future, because this is just another option that isn't that white and red podium. That's something that will have a lot of creature comforts that you're looking for, like at a gas station.
Yeah. They should reinvent the rest stop.
Reinvent the rest stop. So like those that are off the highway and is mainly just a bathroom, you want them to pretty much put a business there, or
make a long-term rest stop, like overnighters. You know how trucks just pull off onto the side of the road, or they'll get into a parking lot in a Walmart, or some of them get to those rest stops. They should have like a enterprise section and a passing through section. Enterprise can use the area for like showering and resting and hygiene and all that stuff, and do what they got to do. And the passing through people, I don't know what to call the us in that situation, but those guys should have like a food court, maybe.
You're pretty much describing a Buc-ee's at this point.
Hey, let's do a Buc-ee's with showers. Yeah. Okay. Screw it. Buc-ee's. I was thinking something a bit more, quaint, homely, like one of them cabins that you would pass through. But because that's where I would see the rest stops, is like passing through the mountains, and then I see these little cabin pull-offs. But it's a visitor center, like, oh, welcome to our state, and here's a pamphlet to know about West Virginia. What? West Virginia? What? But do we have any West Virginia listeners, viewers, whatever? I'm curious. I don't think we do. Consumers, audio listeners.
Are there any West Virginia consumers here?
Do we have any West Virginia? Because if we do, I got some questions. Not people who lived in the area at some point or passed through and familiar. I passed through many. I'm talking about residents. Your driver's license says West Virginia. If we have a West Virginia listener, reach out to me. I have some questions for you. And I'm not saying that maliciously. I actually have an infrastructure question for you. West Virginia is one of the states that, like Alaska, they will pay you if you move to West Virginia. They will pay you 12 grand, so effectively $1,000 a month, and you will have to stay there for a year. So I think you get it $1,000 a month. And if you would bring your business there to stimulate the economy, the catch is that it's basically a remote position that you're bringing your work there, and but they want help to stimulate their economy. And I ask about this for if we have any West Virginia listeners, because there are two non-negotiable toll roads you have to hit to get through the state on the interstate. And I find, well, I'm not going to give away my answer why I want to talk to a resident, but I have questions. So anyway, but they do have a cute little rest stop when you get into the state. I'm like, oh, all right, that's neat. So take the homeliness of what this rest stop could look like, and then inject some Buc-ee's BS into that, and boom, you have a good business. And now it's all charging ports. It should be charging ports that are it charges at the rate that you want. So if you know you're gonna take a rest, you're gonna take a break, shower, and do all that stuff. Maybe you don't need level or stage 3. Like you want to have like maybe like give me like instead of being done in 20 to 40 minutes, buy me 2 hours and let it charge that way. And so that way
I like that idea, Randy, but I feel like the more appropriate way of doing it is having a section that is meant for overnight stays, or I guess those that want slow charging. There's a section defined for that where you've got the wiring for those podiums to pretty much provide a slower charge rate compared to installing a whole suite, like every single charging station that you got there or stall being a high output where only, I don't know, 25% of them are being actually used for that use case.
Sure.
Where 75% of them just aren't. It seems like a waste of infrastructure to me. I feel like, I mean, to be fair, in the day, a lot more of them are going to be used. And at night, a lot of them, more of them are just going to be used for slower charges. So I like the idea that every single one is a fast charging and you can just choose what your charging rate is. But I also like the idea that there's different sections, or at least maybe have a different area with a whole bunch of different podiums, kind of like in pull-through stations, or maybe right next to the building. And it's pretty much designated for stop and sleep. I forget what the technical term is for that, but pretty much not night owls, but those that need the sleep.
Yeah. I think about like those like areas where like, oh shoot, you're doing a road trip, not a long one, but even a 4 to 6 hours, that's a decent amount. You're like, oh dang, you're road tripping, and my kid just had a blowout. I need to wash him. I need to clean him up. Totally hypothetical. It'd be nice to have.
I was thinking that he blew out his tire, which is totally fine.
Oh, Mike, no. As a dad, you learn new terminologies, and I used to think blowouts were this, and now I think blowouts, I think of poop. Which kind of is the same, right? A tire blows out, that's poop.
It is a crappy situation either way.
Yeah. So I think like having just the need where like, families might need to, take a little bit of longer time. Dude, I had to take longer times on my trips once my kid was born. And I'm like, man, I don't need you to charge that quickly because I need some time. And then I have to come back. I got to move the car. Hey, can you stay with him? I'm going to go move the car. I don't like that. So it'd be cool to have like different charging speeds. I'm kind of throwing out all these ideas all at once, but it's something I've thought about when it comes to like, even if I'm just leaving the city for a little bit, I want to go play in the mountains and there's a charging station, but I'm also like, okay, hang on. I'm going to finish my thought. I'm going to tell you the counter to that. I'm charging, but then I want to go inside the store, get something, or I want to eat at this cafe or whatever while I'm charging. I would like to have it at a slower pace, but the immediate con to that is that you need to free up the charging space for other people. Like, don't hog it all day. That's rude. And I've experienced that for non-superchargers. For example, people will hog the space all day at my old job. Like, dude, I know your car's done. That's a tiny car. Move your crap. I need a charge. So my idea is flawed just from a community standpoint, because it's kind of selfish. The only way it works is if there's a lot of charging stations, an abundance, the way there is gas stations, but we're not there yet. So maybe one day my vision will come to fruition, but my vision fruition, but not now. Not in the 2020s for sure. That won't happen in the 2020s. I'll revisit this thought in the 2030s. Yeah.
You made me look up when you said the Adventure Network, or I guess roving through the mountains. It made me curious on how far Rivian has gone with their Adventure Network.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they've got a decent amount that I'm showing on the screen right now for those that are watching. I've got the Rivian Adventure Network map up. And the 3 Thunderbolt or 1 Thunderbolt icons are their Adventure Network or Waypoint Network chargers.
Yes.
And then the blue, or I guess not blue. Don't know why I said blue. The green dots are the Tesla superchargers, in which you can definitely see Tesla is the the very large presence in the North American area of superchargers. But I'm very happy to see a bunch of these Rivian Adventure Network and Waypoint Network chargers out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Some of these, like, all the way in what looks to be just the middle of nowhere border of Nevada and Utah on the 650.
Yeah.
Or 6/50 over by 93. And it's just middle of nowhere, and there's a Waypoint charger out there, which is nice to know that if you ever get caught there in an EV somehow, there's at least some saving grace.
Right. Yeah. No, I've looked at this website that you're looking at many of times, just to be like, if I'm going to buy a Rivian, what are my networks looking like? And luckily, I mean, nothing is really beating California, but I like how every time you click to share your screen, it comes back to me. It has to re-render my face.
Such weird software. Don't know why it needs to re-render it each time the screen size changes. Why not just downscale and upscale the fully rendered image? But
whatever. So, but I like that Colorado has a decent amount. And shoot, did you see the Appalachian Mountains over there? Like, those guys, I was just taken back right now about, like, dang, that's a lot over on the East Coast.
They're filling up a lot of chargers over in those Appalachian Mountains. It is striking to me that they've gotten so many on, I forget what highway that is that follows it.
It depends. For a little bit, it's the 81, but it really depends. It depends on what part of what section you're in on those mountains. So if you're by, like, the Blue Ridge, then it's the 81. If you're by the Smoky Mountains, it's a different interstate. But anyway, all the same. Like, I like that. Like, they put these out in the mountains. Like, but
it's not near
I'm totally
any Tesla
biased.
superchargers.
Yeah,
it's totally pretty
much. Yeah,
there's a Bermuda Triangle here between what looks to be Johnson City, the middle of nowhere, and Winston-Salem. And in this Bermuda Triangle of Tesla superchargers, there's just a Rivian Adventure Network charger.
Hey, is that by Roanoke right there in Virginia? Can you scroll in? No, Roanoke is probably the one up.
Roanoke is probably north over by
Charlottesville. No, it's south. It's one of those two. You're nearing the area. Roanoke is somewhere right there. Blacksburg, Roanoke. Ladies and gentlemen, Roanoke is a mountain town in Virginia that I
right next to Salem.
Boom. Yeah, next to Salem. I like this. I just like that they I like that that they put it in the mountains, and I lived on the east coast of Virginia, so, like, there's nothing over there. I have to go to the closest one I would have to hit up is in North Carolina.
They intentionally put these out in the mountains. You
I
can
love
definitely
it.
tell it just follows the mountain ridge, which is really cool just to see that it actually, the Adventure Network almost spotlights just all the adventurous areas in the United States. Of course, they put some favoritism towards California, but you can easily see there's a trend or line of chargers.
Yeah.
And you zoom in, it's, oh yeah, that's the Sierras.
Does
course.
Rivian have any charging their Adventure Network? Are there any in San Diego? I don't think there is there? Nope.
No, there's
Not even
nothing in
close.
San Diego. The closest one is in Quartzsite, Arizona,
No,
or
you're better going right there.
Yellowstone, California.
Yeah, you're better off going to San Bernardino County area. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is
But I think that's the beauty of
That's
Rivian
funny.
partnering up with Tesla. Is
but
that
that's because I see these little green dots. I'm like, those are all charging superchargers. I know those. I know that path. So
right?
cool.
There's superchargers all over the place. You don't need to put another different charging network there.
Sure. Wow.
Especially if you're partnered with that company. It makes so much more sense to service areas that Tesla's never going to touch. So
Right.
for Rivian to outright choose these very rural areas, it's almost a challenge for them. Of not even a challenge, just more of they're looking at all these remote areas and they're like, yeah, let's just put one there. One that I'm expecting at this point, in which maybe it's a whole bunch of state legislation holding it back, but South Dakota has nothing. Well, I guess it's got one supercharger, but nothing between Rapid City and Sioux Falls. And it seems like probably the local government or state government there just doesn't like EVs. But it very much is a dark zone for EV traveling, and makes so much more sense to I mean, maybe not for a Rivian Adventure Network, but maybe Iona might have better luck getting in there because it's a whole bunch of legacy auto companies.
Right.
And maybe they can shore up some chargers there so that way you don't go through pretty much a charging desert where there's nothing and you have that threat of running out of battery in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. These networks, I've taken more interest in which networks are doing what and why, because I am not that I want to see a diverse network that, oh, this one is ran by Tesla, this one's ran by Rivian, this one's ran by whoever, and I want them to just be compatible. I want the same versatility that you get with the what am I trying to say, Mike? With the gas stations. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Agreed. It would be nice to have them a little bit more ubiquitous and pretty much cookie cutter to where it doesn't matter what company it's from or where you are. It's pretty much guaranteed. Yep, it's there.
Right.
It's there. It's ready, waiting for you.
Where it's so easy.
Right. Speaking of Rivian, in your neck of the woods,
okay,
I believe the R2 is coming.
When?
As of recording right now, tomorrow. So right now we're recording on the 12th. On the 13th, the R2 and R3 are coming to Denver, Colorado, or at least I think the R2 is confirmed. I don't know if the R3 is.
I am going to see if we can take a little road trip.
So it's at the Electrify Expo. So it is an event. You're going to have to pay some ticket price, most likely, to see him. But from someone who has seen the R2 in person, Randy, it's worth it. Even though I didn't pay for it. It was just sitting in some plaza area. But it was definitely worth seeing this new product from Rivian, because just seeing it in an image doesn't help. And even stacking it up versus the R1S.
Yeah.
The R1S and R2, you can definitely see there's a size difference, but actually seeing it in person, you get the understanding of, oh, this is a better looking Ford Flex.
Wow. Okay.
With a lot more capability. I think comparing it to a Ford Flex is very demeaning to the R2.
Yeah. How close were you to the R2?
I was standing right next to it. I can try to grab some photos. But yeah, I was I don't think I ever touched it. I respected the vehicle too much and the engineers that were there supporting it, because a lot of these guys were out of Irvine, California, and they drove all the way up on a weekend or week. Yeah, I think it was a weekend. It was like Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's a day off technically, but they came up and were there just ready to answer questions. And so I wanted to provide the same respect that they were, I guess, providing their time and knowledge for being up in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
To not put my grubby little hands all over it.
Oh no, not me. I'm gonna be like, ooh, I want. Do you think so if you were that close to it, what do you think what do you think? Like is it overhyped? Is it underhyped? Is it the right amount of hyped? Is it, you knowing me, and I'm just asking, friend to friend, is do I want an R2? Do I want something not as big, or like what are your overall thoughts? I'm using you as my I'm living vicariously through you.
Well, I think I mentioned at the time, I don't know if you were in that podcast or not, but when I was talking with Drew about it, I was echoing the fact that it's a beautiful product, and buying like one of the first ones is probably not my recommendation at this point, because I already lived that with my Model Y.
I hear you. Same.
One of the first 1 to 200 units ever made for the customers.
Right.
But I'm pretty certain whenever my Y goes kaput and we need that same similar sized vehicle, the R2 is the way to go. I'll probably put in an order for one whenever my Model Y kicks the bucket, in which I'm not advocating for it to kick the bucket, even though what I didn't mention at the beginning of this podcast, the software has been annoying both on the app and in the car. Whenever I tap on the screen in my Model Y, the selection is 1 inch above what I'm trying to select, which is something weird. I've reset the software multiple times because my dash cam continually disconnects on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
In which that might just be the what's it called? The third party SD to USB device I've got plugged in. It might be just getting old, but that being an annoyance, but then also even the software resets that I'm doing isn't resetting this issue. That is, selection is 1 inch above what I'm trying to select.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a bug with the current software I've got right now, whatever package that or version I'm on right now. Maybe that's an issue. But that, and then the app now no longer being reliable. Pretty much whenever I try checking on the car, it's just constant loading circles.
Yeah.
Or it never gives me the clear image of here's the car, here's the selections. It's just, we're trying to give you the information, but we're still loading the information, and it just never ends. So I don't know whether I have to reconnect or disconnect and reconnect my phone and do the whole card pairing and everything else. But with all of that software issue that I'm meeting right now, I know it seems kind of silly. If I want less software issues, why would you go for another startup company that's still new? And
I've heard the software in Rivians are actually quite pleasant. I've heard
enough to where a whole company invested in it, being VW. So
yeah, we did. I was on that podcast. That was sick.
Right.
That was cool.
If VW sees something, then maybe it is a lot more promising. But I guess my point is, with a lot of the issues that I have with my Y, wouldn't be. I'd probably be a little bit more happier if my Y turned into an R2 one day. I think it's underhyped.
Oh, underhyped. Oh, okay. It is my goal to convince my wife that a Rivian is worth it, because right now she is a Tesla stan, and I'm like, no.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, you have 2 Teslas, so that makes sense. But with my wife, I'll let you finish your statement, and then I'll echo what my wife has said, which is actually, I think, the first difference that I've ever heard between us and our wives.
Impossible.
I know, right?
Maybe if I talk long enough, we'll reconnect again. The reason why it's it's not because of she's not a Tesla stan. I'm kind of embellishing for the pod, but she is hesitant on other startups because she doesn't know its history. Actually, we talked about this. She doesn't know the battery history. She doesn't trust it just because there's not enough data on it. Whereas Tesla has now surpassed, like, it stood the test of time. It's gained her trust, and so she's more willing to be a Tesla customer because she knows the battery cells are okay and they're good. That logic makes sense to me.
Agreed.
But I'm like, there's more. I'm trying to what I'm trying to do through action, through research. I'm trying to show that other vehicles right now in the space are just as promising as a Tesla. And admittedly, and I'm not talking about Rivian here. Admittedly, maybe you have to sideline some of your expectations if you're willing to pay a lower price for a vehicle. So I mean that's more or less that was the driver of the conversation, but we ultimately don't. She's not interested in selling, but she's also not interested in selling because she's still paying for the Model Y. So she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to open that wound yet. Like, dang, I think I bought the wrong car, because for what we needed it in 2023, in the beginning of 2023, it was the right call to make. And that's what I have to keep reminding her, because she gets a bit of like, did I mess up? Because these things are getting cheaper. Prices are going down. I'm like, don't think about where it's at today, because you're going to always have FOMO and you're always going to be wrong. Think about where you're at in the moment of when you were ready to make the purchase of the car. Had I waited to get a Model 3, I would have a better Model 3 today. But you can always have a reason to wait. There's always a good enough reason to wait. Don't think about tomorrow. Don't think about the possibility of what the vehicles will be. Think about why you need the vehicle now. Why you need it. Not do you want it? Why do you need it? Why do you want it? Why are you picking this one today or yesterday? You made this decision yesterday. Remember why you picked it yesterday. Remember why it was relevant for your use case then, not where we're at today. Because today is going to look just as bad as yesterday does when tomorrow comes around and we have all this new crap out there. Don't get FOMO, because that's a dangerous cycle to get stuck in. Remember why you made the call when you did. So those are the real conversations we're having. To which she's like, the Model Y was the right move to make at its time. With that, we do have those conversations like, if our cars went crap today, what will we do? And we both would not get a Tesla today.
Yeah. That's something I think about as well, on whether I would consider buying a Tesla today. And something like the new Model 3 that we talked about earlier, the long-range rear-wheel drive, is very appealing, both in range and size.
Yeah.
But in terms of what I'm carting around in my use cases, what you're carting around in your use cases, the 3, we've kind of outgrown the 3, you and I, in which I never went into it, but you did.
I did.
And it's something that I'm glad I didn't go into, because I thought I did, but then waiting for the Y was actually a good move, because there's a lot of use cases that we have that just makes sense to have this vehicle.
Right.
With something like an equivalent being an R2 is something that is very appealing, because it's the same size as a Model Y, but the squareness and the adventureness that is a Rivian. And so that's something that is very appealing to us. But a lot of the conversation that my wife has had recently is actually she has grown a second liking to the R1S.
Ooh.
In which I think
that's the one that my wife wants. She doesn't want a T. She wants the R1S.
Yeah, she likes big SUV, in which something like a Cadillac IQ is not something that she's super interested in. I
Yeah,
guess the Escalade IQ, but something like a Rivian R1S is very appealing to her. And which actually I saw the updated version recently on the road because I live in the Bay Area, so everyone buys the newest, most tech enthusiast thing that they don't really need on four wheels, but they do buy it
naturally.
anyways. But she does like the R1S, and I think a compromise between that is the R2, in which has that cost effectiveness or that financial responsibility to it,
Yeah,
but still has a lot of the new and greatest things from Rivian packaged in the same size that we're already accustomed to. So something like the R2 is kind of like that nice blend between the two that I think if the Y disappears one day, the R2 would be a fantastic replacement for that.
And at least the R2 has a ship date, right? It's next year.
2025? Is that
Wait,
really the ship date?
Yeah. 2024, 2025. They said production next year.
I believe they said 2026, if I recall.
So they do production next year, but ship.
I think maybe they start pilot production, or they actually get a lot of prototypes out there at the end of next year or the middle of next year. But
Mike, are you an investor in a Rivian stock? Do you own any Rivian stock?
I do, and actually, I got in I think a week or so ago, so I did get some of the benefit of the bump recently. But I'm not like going all in on it and such. But
I will never do that again. I got lucky. I gambled. I won a little piece of the lottery. I will never do that again. But I'm thinking about investing, and I need you to talk me out of it.
You can always do one share so you can get some voting rights.
No, I want to invest because I actually want to get a return on my investment. I'm being practical about it. I don't want to just vote. I actually want to. I history always repeats itself. If it doesn't repeat itself, it definitely has an echo. And my headspace with Rivian is exactly the headspace I was in with Tesla in 2016, 2017.
Yeah, and it's good.
Whatever.
But it's kind of hard not to with all these beautiful images and products that they're kicking.
I don't know. No. I'm not going to be wooed by images and stuff like that in promo. I'm talking strategically here. Like, I had an intuition about Tesla, and they said I was crazy for it. They called me a madman.
Call me a. Never mind. Anyways.
Well, so I had a strong feeling, and I didn't think I was going to be right. But straight up, I mean, obviously, I didn't know. I didn't think I was going to be right, but I believed I was right. So because of it, I knew I was right without actually knowing I was going. You can't control operations of a company as an investor. You can't control the outcome of that. There was a good chance Tesla would have gone under when they're in production.
As a small investor, no. As a big investor like VW, yes.
Exactly. So I couldn't tell you we'd be right, but I just knew. I believed I was making the right call, so I knew I was right. Whatever that intuition is, that instinct I had about it, I am having it about Rivian. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Should I take my shares, my winning shares, go home, use that money, save it for an R2, an R3, an R whatever, or should I put that into Tesla or into Rivian for a couple of years, let it bake? It's better than giving a refundable $100 that we still haven't got back.
That's amazing. Have you contacted Tesla at all, or have you just been busy?
No, that's a her question. I don't know.
Okay.
Because I'm not the one who put a deposit on it, but I am saying that I have a genuine faith in Rivian, and maybe I want to put some. I think that's what I'm going to. I keep doing this, Mike. I did it on the tech podcast yesterday with you. I'm having these realizations out loud, and I'm like, I'm talking myself into it. I think I'm gonna put some money towards a Rivian position. Not a lot by any means. I'm not gonna do tens or hundreds of thousands of equity towards Rivian, but I will do, I don't know, 5, a G, something, just enough to make it
considerable amount.
It's yeah, that's not nothing, but it's also enough that I could sit it, leave it alone, don't worry about it. Because when I make these types of individual stock buys, it's out of my mind for at least a year. Like I can leave it alone for a year, let it do its thing, and reassess. And when I started with Tesla, I was putting at a time, multiple times, I was putting thousands of dollars to it, and I was like, oh, I should just buy the car at this point. And that's when I had committed, like, I'm going to buy a Model 3. And so then I stopped putting thousands for a long time, and I was saving thousands every month or every couple months to save up for the purchase of the Model 3. Mm-hmm. But I was not married. I didn't have a kid. I didn't own a house. So I had way more play money, more FU money, as they say. Those situations are not. I'm old now. I'm in my 30s. I'm a different man now, so I don't make those types of bets anymore. I'm a little bit more conservative with what I do, but I do want to contribute to the vision I still believe in. And even though my alignment with Tesla has changed, I'm not aligned with Tesla anymore about what they want. They care more about the robo stuff and the automated thing. I don't care about that. I just don't. I never did. And so I want to back a company or companies. Maybe it'll be more than one. Maybe I'll pitch into, VW or something. I don't know. I really don't. I'm talking out loud. But ultimately, like, I still want to back a company or a vision that I believe in. At the same time, getting a return on my investment and maybe using those returns to buy another product. And that's where, like, history is repeating itself for me. Look at that beautiful thing. That's in Denver.
That is in Denver. Yeah. So the image
I know
showing
exactly.
is
like, I knew exactly where. Hey, that's the location in Denver.
Mm-hmm. Rivian did some promo with their R2 and R3 prototypes, with as well the Pikes Peak R1T that they had was sitting there at the Denver showroom location. But pretty much they had on, I think, a short or some type of vertical video. The R3, the R2, the R1S, the R1T drive by with a still camera image. And so what some people did is they pretty much overlaid all these images together because the camera's not moving. So you can pretty much get a good comparison between the three vehicles. And so someone stacked the images and you can get a pretty decent comparison between all three vehicles, or I guess maybe four, but what they have here is the R1S in the back, the R2 in the middle, and the R3 in the front or the foreground. And you can see that it kind of helps me because I know what the R2 looks like in terms of size because I've seen it in person, but also knowing that it's about the same dimensions as a Model Y in length, width, and height. It's just a little bit more boxed off on the back of it. It gives a little bit more context for what the R3 is in terms of its size, where it is a little bit more like a Model 3 size-ish vehicle.
Oh, that's smaller than Model 3 then. That's definitely, look at that thing.
Well, the Model 3 and the Model Y, there is a size and height, size difference in general, but
not length.
I'd have to look at that again.
Bro, honest. I park my car side by side every single day in the garage. I see it. The R3 is significantly smaller than the Model 3, and I like that. I actually like that.
Compact.
Dude, that you are selling me on the R3, but the R2 does look nice. Knowing that the R2 is the size of a Model Y is actually reassuring for me. I like that a lot.
It's just a beautiful vehicle. The R3 is like the fun ripping around corners downtown.
That's right.
Just having a good time vehicle.
Yeah.
Your little adventure buddy, per se. Where the R2 is a little bit more of the utility focused crossover that it is, meant to haul a bunch of stuff, but also still have a decent time on the city streets and on country roads.
Country road, take me home to a place I belong.
Rivian Adventure Networks.
Rivian Adventure Networks. Mountain Mama. All right, let's wrap it up. we're done. We're done.
Okay. You don't have any final thoughts, or I don't know. Is there anything that you're looking forward to this year? I guess I know that we probably recapped that at the very beginning of this season or this year, but
if we did, my answer's changed.
Year now.
Yeah, my answer's changed then for sure. If we did,
there's something that you're still expecting in the second half of 2024.
No, your question was, is there something I'm looking forward to? And there is this year.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to getting rid of my Tesla stock.
Okay. Well, if it is that,
I want to be a free agent, baby. I want to be. I'm more interested. We said this last time I was on EV. I am more excited about everything happening outside of Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm like, I want to observe from a financial point of view, and as a fan, I want to sit back and observe and not have my equity tied up. If I want to do something so reckless as to sell my Model 3 and like, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. I want that. Because like, I'll tell you this much, Mike, as you know, but I'm saying this on the record for our listeners and viewers. My wife has not ruled out the bus, the Volkswagen bus.
Ew.
No, I know. But she needs numbers. She needs stats. She needs actual, like, show me what it is. If I can buy it today, let's go take a look at that. She needs to see it in person. She hasn't ruled out, what I'm really saying is she hasn't ruled out getting a VW something. I was like, do you want an ID4? Do you want what was that thing called? What was that small Volkswagen car? I forgot already. Not Fit.
The Golf?
The Golf? Is that what it was? It was the e-Golf?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, do you want that? And she's like, no. I just want what I saw at the museum. I'm like, well, that's not coming.
That's never coming.
And she goes, I know, but that's what I want. So whoever could get me to that, she goes, I'm excited for that. I'm like, all right, fair. All right. So that's what she's excited for. I'm excited for getting a darn truck, man. Straight up. I want a truck so bad.
Why not?
It's the mountain
drive some what's it called? Some Mavericks.
I've thought about it actually, but you know, a Ranger is more akin to an R1T in size.
Yeah, but why do you need a big truck?
Stop it! Don't give me that telos. I don't want to hear it.
I'm being honest. Like, why do you want a Ranger compared to a Maverick? The Maverick is.
I don't. I want an R1T, so I would test drive the thing that feels like another R1T. That's what I want.
Then why not just get an R1T at that point?
Well, now that you told me about what's going up in Denver, I'm probably going to try to put in a reservation tomorrow to test drive, to be honest.
My wife has been wanting to test drive the R1S, and unfortunately, or at least at the time that we're looking, test drives were like a month out. That many people are demo driving these vehicles. But with the recent from, I think, a couple podcasts back, where Rivian said that they're going to double down on demo drives and have their service centers also be places where you can schedule demo drives, which means more demo drives available in your local area, wherever there's a service center or showroom, or I guess, or spaces, I guess was what they call them. That means more availability for it. So I guess we're waiting on that, is more availability, because there's service centers closer to us than there are spaces in the Bay.
Interesting.
So we figure,
That's
okay,
interesting.
We'll probably test drive an R1S at some point. But yeah, I would recommend test driving an R1T, but then also test driving a Maverick, because those, as far as I can tell, I haven't test driven one, but I've sat in them stationary and seen them in parking lots and talked with owners, and people love them.
Dude, straight up, it's so cool. I see people in my neighborhood have Mavericks out on the street, and I walk by really slow. I'm like, ooh, check that. My neighborhood, I like these guys, man. Some of my neighbors, they got I see Mavericks. I walk by nice and slow. I'm like, dang, that looks nice. They have an IYKYK out there. I'm like, ooh. So I walk by that one. I was when we do our daily walks, I go, let's walk by that. Let's go that direction. You just want to see the IYKYK? Yes, I do. It's a nice color and everything. Like, I do want to see it. If I remember, I'll take a photo and I'll send it to you. Be like, hey, look at it, because I always walk by it. There's a lot of different EVs out here, and I haven't found a Rivian yet, though. Dude, I am seeing all over now. This is you. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, I get it. I know your geolocation, so I get it. But for me, I'm like, I'm all over the place. I'm seeing Cybertrucks now, all over the place. Yeah, I know.
I'm seeing 3 a day now, and most of them are just silver, or I guess bare metal. They're not wrapping them, which is kind of a misstep, in my opinion. You should definitely wrap your Cybertruck, in which that means don't drive it for the first month that you have it. But I'd recommend getting your Cybertruck wrapped if you get one, because it will drastically increase the life of those panels for you.
Yeah. The more I see the Cybertruck and understanding the issues that are happening, the more I'm kind of glad I didn't go through with it, or we didn't go through with it. I feel like we kind of dodged a bullet, but also I do trust that future iterations will resolve all these issues. And every time we see a Cybertruck, we're like, dang it, why did you have to be so expensive? That's always what my wife says. She's always like, man, why are you so expensive? I could have had you. But then I tell her about all the, like, no, there's some issues going on with this founder series. They're not this ain't it, Chief. So I'm kind of glad I didn't do it, but also at the same time, it's like, you promised me something that you couldn't deliver. It was all talk and no. Okay, it wasn't all talk, but still, it's not the price that we wanted. So anyway, that's it.
My friend's dad, who owns one, in which I was just making sure there's no sensitive information in this image before I share it.
Good.
Recently sent me this photo, which I thought was very hilarious.
Whoa!
The panel.
Describe what you're seeing.
So yeah, for those that aren't watching the podcast and are listening, pretty much it looks like you're in the driver's seat of the Cybertruck, looking over to the right side of the vehicle, and dangling from the top where pretty much the parts, reverse, neutral, and drive buttons are that lead to the visor and the camera cluster on the truck. That panel that has the PR, I guess there's no low, but so I guess it's the PR and D, the print. That panel is now dangling, and they can't reattach it. He put a caption on it saying just Cybertruck things and sent it to me in iMessage, and I pretty much responded saying par for the course.
Dude, I would be livid.
He's also saying the tonneau cover isn't really working anymore. There's something that's grinding in there. Yeah, it's just a poorly designed. Oh, they also had the pedal thing as well. Their pedal also had that defect where the glue or the adhesion, I guess it's glue, between the thing that you're actually putting your foot on and then the thing that's actually going down, which they're not riveted together or mechanically attached together in any way. It's just glue adhesing the two things together. And it's the whole stupid recall of, oh no, your Cybertruck will now accelerate and stay accelerating without your input. In which, yeah, some can say you just hit the brakes. But that's still a bad issue to have, in my opinion, because unintended acceleration can spook people. And their first inclination is not to hit the brakes immediately. It is what is going on, looking around, and then oops.
Yep. Yeah.
Crashed into a telephone pole.
Jesus.
Yep.
I hope that doesn't happen.
To anyone.
To anyone.
it's a terrible feeling I have control, especially in something that costs $100,000.
And I already feel out of control in my life. I don't need it in my car too.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I'm in the same spot as you and your wife as well. The Cybertruck has kind of come and gone in my mind at this point. Like, it's fun to see in person on the road and all that. It's fun to point at it and say, hey, look, it's the giant metal polygon. But it's not something I'm really pining for anymore. I want something that has good range and doesn't need a large battery and doesn't have a lot of issues that keep on cropping up and showing that, rapid innovation does not equal good quality.
True. Yeah.
It's the epitome of it. So with that kind of, I don't know, not depressing. I'm hoping next week we have this podcast, Randy, that you give me an update on seeing the R2 in person, if possible. I confirmed that it's only the R2 there. The R3 is not there. According to Rivian Updates, who I get a lot of my Rivian news from, because he seems to follow everything Rivian and has a lot of good information. So shout out to him. But it's just the R2 up there. So no R3, but I still think it's worth it. It's an underrated product. You should definitely go see it.
If I can, I will.
Cool. And if you're in the Denver area, go check it out. It's really cool. 13th and 14th. But by the time you're listening to this, it's probably come and gone. So I'm sorry I didn't get to this sooner for y'all. But
boo.
Whatever. With that, thank you for joining us for this wonderful episode. Hopefully we have Drew back later. And he has a fixed car that has no more issues. But who knows at this point. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye.
Goodbye.